That's right. We are back. Is an NBA playoff edition of Buckets and Dimes, Nuts and Bolts Sports NBA podcast. Happy to be here. Joe Cardoza, joined as always my co-host, Mr. Patrick Hillwig. Patrick, happy Sunday to you, my man.
Oh man, I'm here. We're in the thick of the NBA playoffs, right where we've been looking forward to all year long, and it has not let us down with these games that we're getting and the performances that we're having from all these amazing players. It's just amazing to watch. I don't get a chance to watch them all live sometimes, but I definitely go back and watch all the highlights, and if I can record it, I'll watch the whole game later.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. The playoffs are where legacies are made. I mean, think about some of the players that we know more for like Robert Horry. How many regular season Robert Horry highlights do you know? But you could probably rattle off all his playoff highlights of things he's done as far as game-winning shots or shots to tie games in the NBA playoffs. I mean, the NBA playoffs are where legacies are made. We are now at the beginning of the second round of the NBA playoffs as the first round of the playoffs has been completed. So, of course, before we start talking about the second round, we want to kind of give a quick recap on where we have been as far as our first round matchups go. So just start off with the East because we're East Coast kind of guys. As we both predicted, the Milwaukee Bucks with certain ease took care of the Detroit Pistons, beating the Pistons 4-0. Boston swept the Pacers 4-0. You had the Brooklyn Nets, who after game one we thought were really going to give the 76ers a run for their money. Tough team, definitely played hard every game, but at the end of the day, Philadelphia advances to the second round of the NBA playoffs, beating Brooklyn 4-1. And then Orlando, your team, Pat, you were singing the praises of the Orlando Magic before anybody was. They won game one in Toronto, had everybody kind of thinking, could these guys possibly make this a tough matchup for Toronto? End of the day, too much Kawhi Leonard, too much Pascal Siakam. Toronto ends up winning that series as well, 4-1. What are some of your thoughts on some of these series in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I mean, you started off with the Bucks and the Pistons. I mean, that series, the Pistons were wounded. They're a wounded dog. No Blake Griffin, who actually had 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists in the first game. 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in the second game that he did play. And he actually, I believe I heard he went into surgery.
Yep, had surgery this week.
Final game.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, props to that guy for coming out and really showing up. I mean, that team could have just said, no, I'm not going to play. And he toughed it out in those 2 games, and he made it somewhat of a series. Obviously, they got swept. Also, one thing I want to point out is the Bucks are the second team in playoff history to win the first 4 games by 15 points or more since the 1980 Celtics. So they definitely were handling the Bucks. But we mentioned they were a man down, but still it's NBA. They all made it to the NBA out of a small group of people, so you got to play with who you got on the court, and they were just undermanned. Actually, another big thing about that was the second highest point differential in a sweep in NBA history, behind the 1986 Lakers. So the Bucks did what we thought they were going to do. They dominated that series. It wasn't much of a chance for the Pistons. As far as you talk about the Raptors Magic, hey. You said, right after that first game, I know you text me and you were like, what? You're like, is this real? And, I got my hopes up, but I also came back to reality the next day that, hey, Toronto's not just going to roll over just because they lost 1 game. It's the playoffs. It's a 7-game series.
True.
Does it matter if you win in 4? Does it matter if you win in 7? Nope. What matters is that you win. So, they got back to the grind. They did what they had to do. Like you said, your guy, Siakam, guy came through.
Most improved player in the NBA, man.
He's been balling. He has just been balling that entire series. And going into the next series, he played really well as well. So, that series kind of went exactly how we thought it was going to go as well. And then the Sixers Nets. I mean, I didn't think the Sixers really had a chance. And then, of course, I didn't think the Nets had a chance. And then, of course, the Sixers, did lose that 1 game. But, man, the rest of the games, they just blew them out. You could just tell there was nobody that was going to stop Embiid. Simmons had a triple-double. Simmons obviously is going to have to learn how to make a jump shot. But I think he's learned he plays his game in the way that him not having a jump shot doesn't really hurt him as much because, he knows what his game is and what he's good at. And he takes it to the rim. And he plays up front. So, all around, man, most of the Eastern Conference series, I think, went exactly the way we thought they were going to go.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on what you were saying about Blake Griffin. This guy's definitely changed the narrative. When you think about it, Blake Griffin came into the NBA, all this the super athlete. All this guy can do is dunk, no jump shot, no touch around the rim. You watch him play now, his game is completely transformed. And also, like you said too, trying to build something there in Detroit. It goes a long way when you show the guys that suit up beside you that, hey, I'm not 100%, but I'm still going to go out there and give you guys what I can give you guys. When he was dragging his leg, could barely run, but was still out there trying to will this team to at least one victory, show these guys what the playoff success is like. So I definitely want to give credit to Blake Griffin for trying to gut it out and show the Detroit Pistons players and fans he's there and he means business. And like you said, too, with that Brooklyn team, that's a team that should be happy with the season they had, and they got a lot of things to build off of. With Spencer Dinwiddie, with D'Angelo Russell, with having the three-point champion in your squad. You got a guy like Allen in the middle who's very raw. There's a lot of pieces in Brooklyn. If they get some key acquisitions in the offseason and maybe even get a good player in the draft, we're going to hear again from Brooklyn. And like you said from the beginning, man, from the beginning of the playoffs, you said it's only a matter of time before the Indiana Pacers feel the loss of Victor Oladipo, and they felt it for 4 games. That's kind of where we are with the Eastern Conference. Obviously, that means Milwaukee goes on to take on Boston. Philadelphia goes to take on Toronto. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's go to the Western Conference first round. Golden State Warriors, who I thought they were gonna handle the Clippers. I mean, I was thinking sweep. They ended up advancing, beating a tough, and boy do I mean tough, Los Angeles Clippers team 4-2. You had the Houston Rockets handle business against the Utah Jazz. The Rockets advanced 4-1. The Portland Trailblazers against the Oklahoma City Thunder was my favorite series in the first round. I was there for that Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook matchup. A lot of lost hours of sleep, but well worth it. And we'll talk about that iconic shot for years to come as Portland beats OKC 4-1. And then you had a Game 7, which we all love. The Denver Nuggets, man, young, not a lot of experience. How are they going to handle the playoffs? Go up against a Greg Popovich veteran team, and they win that series 4-3. So looking at the Western Conference round 1, what are some of your takeaways, Pat?
Well, a couple of things. One, obviously I picked the Spurs. Obviously I picked the Thunder. You know, those two teams, I thought their playoff pedigree, I thought the Thunder with Paul George and Westbrook and Dennis Schroeder in addition there, I thought they had a chance. And they played them right down to the wire in that one as well. But just to start, obviously, we all thought the Warriors, everybody I listened to and heard, oh, the Warriors are going to sweep. Oh, the Warriors are going to sweep. Well, they didn't quite sweep, but they still, man, the Clippers made a valiant effort. Those couple of games, man, it was crazy watching them play. Montez Harrell was just balling. Lou Williams, good Lord, that guy, man, I just can't even say enough. But at the end of the day, you know who I am. I'm Kevin Durant. And you know, it's funny because I was back looking and yeah, he struggled that one game. I mean, just look at it. You're looking at, you know, game 2, 21-5-5. Game 3, 38 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. Then he came back with 33, 7 and 6. And then to end the series or whatever, he had 45 points in the second to last game with 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and dropped 50 in that game-clinching game.
On the road.
Right. He literally, and I don't know if you saw it or not, but did you see, who was it, Lou Williams and Patrick Beverley? And they were like,
I did.
What could you do differently? And he was like, did you watch the game? Like, what could we, like, we did everything. Like, there was nothing we could do. And I loved how they put it, because they were like, look, well, every now and again you come across a guy that is just, his talent level is just that good that he can just take over a game. Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant, Curry, LeBron James, Damian Lillard in that final game. I mean, those are just some of the players that, you know, obviously there's so many more superstars, but those were just the ones that I could think of that one at crunch time, they click and they just take over. Like, the ball's in their hands.
Kyrie Irving sometimes.
Right, Kyrie Irving sometimes. Oh my gosh, I was watching highlights from the game today. I mean, he was hitting that fadeaway shot like it was butter, like it was touching the rim, it was going way up. I was like, oh, playoff Kyrie. You know, they call it playoff Kyrie for a reason, because, yeah, he's a superstar, and yeah, he does well during the regular season, and he always has his little hiccups and scrimmages where with his teammates, oh, they're not playing, or they're, you know, stuff like that. But when it comes down to crunch time, when it comes down to playoffs, who do you trust more?
Yeah, true story.
You know? And the Celtics are leaning on him right now, and he is their true leader right now. But yeah, as far as the Warriors Clippers game or series, that was just a great series. To see the Clippers actually get a couple wins, it gave everyone else hope.
That 31-point comeback will not be forgotten anytime soon.
No, not at all. And I was one of those guys too. Oh, I'll just go to sleep. It's late at night. I wake up the next day. I was like, "Are you kidding me? They what?" Like, I wish I would have stayed up, but it just didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, that was just a great series to see. The Clippers really show why they did deserve to be in the playoffs. A lot of people were kind of up and down on the Clippers. They started out the year, I think, like second in the Western Conference, the very beginning of the season, first or second, and then kind of came back down. But still, that Nuggets Spurs though, man, the Jokic, Murray. I mean, they were just balling.
I'm happy that those two guys got a chance for people to see them on the national stage, because there's people that just watch basketball when it's playoff time. So I'm sure for a lot of people that was their first time watching the Nuggets, so they had no idea who these guys were. And of course, the narrative was they're young, they have a lot of experience, how they're going to handle the playoffs. I thought the two of them showed whether they're leaders to the team.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they were that young team. They're that young team that we knew they had the talent, but a lot of young teams, with talent or not, they get in the playoffs and the pressure's too much. The stage is too big.
Yeah.
They just can't handle it, and they're just not ready for it. Murray's knocking down shot after shot after shot. Obviously having Paul Millsap probably did really help them out a lot.
Yeah, veteran
leadership. But what more can you say about Jokic, man? That dude is just. He's gonna be playoffs year after year after year if he keeps playing that way. I don't think he quite averaged a triple double, but I think he was close.
Yeah, he was close to it.
Double.
And there's not too many teams that run their offense through a big guy, and when they do run their offense through a big guy, it's in the post. Whereas they don't do that. He's at the top of the key, orchestrating things, which is just different.
Mm-hmm. And then to get to your Blazers Thunder series, man.
It's fantastic.
It
was fantastic.
And I'll say this, Enes Kanter was big for them. Huge for them. Obviously former Thunder player. Came up big with rebounds, came up big with just stepping up and playing defense. He played Adams amazing. Obviously, we know what really determined the win or loss, and that was Damian Lillard and his performance. And
game time, baby.
That shot, I mean, seriously, like you said, I heard the thing where they were saying that if you remember Allen Iverson stepping over Tyronn Lue or whatever, they were like, this is the new iconic, that look after he hit that three-pointer. And Paul George is like, it was just epic. Like, I watched it live, and I'm so glad I did, because I was kind of, deciding if I was going to stay up or not, too, because it was a later game. But, man, I saw when he hit that shot and just that. Yep.
The wave by was awesome.
Yep. And then the stare down when they had all the players and he just stared at the camera.
Talk about awareness to know the camera's right there. Yeah, that was awesome.
That series, it had everything. The everybody was all heated. Obviously, the tension between Lillard and Westbrook and even Kanter. It's just crazy.
That's NBA playoffs. We love the matchups. Let's focusing a little bit on that Portland-Oklahoma City Thunder series. So we know that Oklahoma City's been eliminated from the playoffs again. For me, in my opinion, for that team, what's next is I've heard people talk about, is there a possibility they'll trade Russell Westbrook? Is there a possibility they'll trade Paul George? I think that's crazy. I think the one thing they have to change is the leadership at the top. I think you need to bring a new head coach into that team that can bring some discipline, but also some fresh ideas to that squad. And as far as player development, you got guys going into I believe it's going to be either Russell's 9th or 10th year next season. How much better, how much more can he improve? I'm not really sure, but you definitely need to I'd like to see an improved jump shot from Russell Westbrook, because you can't rely on your athleticism forever. At a certain age, with him having a couple of injuries of his knees, him getting up in age, you can't just be the best athlete in the floor all the time. You're going to have to get a consistent jump shot, a consistent three-point shot, and that's something that you can improve on in the offseason by just living in the gym. But I also think